Hello everyone, welcome to a discussion partially on SMITE crowd control, but also going to be a little bit more about my mindset and what I'm thinking about during matches, because I received a comment from Nate asking me about crowd control specifically, and by the way, hey Nate, how's life? Um, I'm making this episode because I really haven't set aside a specific episode to talk about crowd control, so kind of that's why we're here. Um, and of course, crowd control is a very popular thing, but it goes beyond just, oh, it's preventing the enemy from doing something. I'm going to take an example. Neath's Root. As a hunter, Neath's Root is nice for making sure you land auto attacks, but it doesn't prevent the enemy from shooting back. So, does Neath's Root matter? Well, that depends on how you build. You build power and you throw in a Hydra's Lament, you root an enemy, that's a guaranteed hit. Unless they beads or they Aegis or they have some other way of getting out of that root via crowd control immunity, say from an ult, you're guaranteed landing that Hydra's Lament. And that's going to slap, okay? I don't have this for some bizarre reason. Alright. Well, I guess we'll just be regular. For some reason I don't have the diamond skin unlocked and I don't have the favor for it right now. But anyways, right? So you have to not only have the crowd control, but you have to be able to take advantage of it or just have the sheer numbers a lot of the times. And Nate specifically made this comment on ADC Arena, a beginner's guide to ADC Arena. So I am assuming that Nate is an ADC main. If you're not, I apologize, but I am assuming that. And I'm also assuming that Nate is specifically having an issue with teamfight crowd control. I'm using slash so I can talk a little bit about laning phase crowd control as well. Because basically, laning phase crowd control. Alright, they have... Yeah, we're going to go crits here. Laning phase crowd control is primarily a matter of, yes, the enemy team has a large amount of... laning phases, if the enemy has some crowd control you're concerned about, you attack when you have beads. If you don't have beads up, you don't attack. That's basically what that comes down to. In the laning phase, and then warding properly so that way you don't get ganked, which is the second source of crowd control in the laning phase, and you're pretty much golden at that point. Again, if you don't have your wards or you don't know where the enemy is, that's a problem. A lot of crowd control management actually comes down to knowing where the enemy is. If I'm in a 1v1 and I get hit by, like I said, a Neath Root, then I have to know whether or not Neath has Hydra's Lament. If she doesn't, then I might be able to outshoot her using a combination of lifesteal. Maybe I've got crits, maybe I'm just a higher level than her, who knows. Maybe I can outpace her. That's something I would have to know her build, know my build, and know where we are both combined, and then make that decision. That's something that happens as the match progresses, and something I'll be talking about. Now, at this particular point, it's early game. I'm not necessarily looking for... Why are we always missing someone? It's early game right now. I'm not necessarily looking to get kills. I'm looking to just get some gold, get some experience. I say this in most episodes. First 5 minutes, kills aren't a huge deal. People aren't dead for too long. Having them back is about the same effect. Whatever. That's totally fine. Right now I'm going to be looking for a crit build, so I'm looking for Devourer's Gauntlet. I'm looking for a crit build because I could really easily incorporate anti-heal without having to adjust my build too much. I just build the Shadow Steel Shuriken instead of the Wind one. I can't remember its name off the top of my head. Doesn't look like we're going to have Mercury here, so it's going to be a bit unfortunate. But right now we're just looking for the farm. We're not really looking for kills. We're also keeping an eye on Sylvanas. He's got some pretty aggressive crowd control here. He's got that pull, so we're going to kind of be, mindful of that. We're not going to aggress too much here. Just going to take this slow. Just going to be a bit slow about this. That's fine. We're going to go on ahead and increase the flag here. Going to see if we can get some poke down. Is Ravon playing frontline? Ravon is not frontline. So they only have... Okay, they only have the one frontline in Sylvanas. Alright, we're going to back up here because, again, we have Ravon here for some potential crowd control. Yep, there it is. We're just going to use our escape out of that. That's a root, so I wasn't too concerned. Ravon's crowd control isn't a major deal if you have an escape. You've got, of course, just the... Like I dashed out of there. Nuwa's a bit scarier. She's got a pretty serious stun attached. And she's got, yep, here it comes. No, we don't want that in our lives. Grab my ult. She's trying for that stun. She whiffed. It's fine. We're just gonna... Okay, he's trying for that. Right now, they're just trying to poke me. Some crowd control is just used for that. They're not really necessarily crowd controlling me for the sake of crowd control. It's just attached to their poke a lot of the times in the laning phase, which technically this is laning phase. So I'm not going to be that concerned about a lot of this. Hello. Okay, you blinked for that. You wanted to kill me, which is interesting. Probably because you're level 5. You were going to probably ult me if you landed that. Probably still wouldn't have mattered. I had my ult. I'm not sure why you're pulling in Izanami. We didn't need Izanami in our lives at this time. Thank you. Yeah, that wasn't a great move. And that's an example of the Izanami making a really great choice there in basically ignoring the crowd control Atlas was throwing out there. She didn't need to worry about that. I was by myself. I don't have really serious crowd control follow-up except for my dash, which is, again, attached to my escape. If I had dashed in on her to stun her, I probably would have died there too. She made the correct decision. She let Atlas crowd control her because she wasn't in danger. Not really. And sometimes you can do that. Sometimes you just don't care. Sometimes it's not something you need to worry about. It really does depend on the context, on the situation. Here's Mercury. We've only lost Atlas, so maybe we can salvage this match. It's not over, okay? So we're going to go right on ahead and move up here. The enemy is backed. I see 3 of the 4 remaining enemies, because I just saw Sylvanas back, so I know he's not around. 3 of the enemies were in the lane, so I wasn't too concerned about that. Now, this is some interesting crowd control. I'm not looking to kill Nuwa here. This crowd control is all about poke. Boom. We're fine. We're fine. Do I have... Yes, I thought so. I couldn't remember. They keep changing the value of Devourer's Gauntlet. I'm going to just go back right now, grab Devourer's Gauntlet. Oh, don't worry about it, Mercury. It happens to all of us. Grab Devos, because whenever you're planning on building a stacking item and you have the gold for it, build it. Just go back and build it. The only exception to this general rule is in Conquest, if the wave is about to come up, maybe you stay and clear the wave first. It's about the only situation in which that's a different, there's a difference there. All right, we're just going to... Actually, we're going to come left, because we seem to be having a problem here. I'm going to ult because I need to be here fast. There we go. And now we got to get out of dodge. Now, I was fine doing that because my beads were up. All right, if my beads were up, that would have been a lot scarier. I still probably could have gotten away with it. I did not wind up using my beads, for instance, in this scenario. But I was willing to take the risk because I had my beads up, right? So that's one thing. Okay, we actually can aggress on this. I'm going to, again, dash aggressively here. Okay, now we got to back out. I'm scared. Come on. I missed. Shoot. I thought he was going to go forward again. Okay, we're just going to try to extract Atlas. There we go. Now, again, the kill is nice and all, but it's not really a big difference. You can see Sylvanas is already back. It doesn't really make a difference. I'm just looking for stacks right now. We're going to ward over here. I'm warding defensively because that's what I'm going to be playing right now. I'm going to be playing a bit more defensively. I don't want huge, ugly fights. I want stacks. I just am looking for my stacks here. I need a lot of them. So I'd like to get them. Okay, we're going to go for this? That's fine. That's fine. Can we kill the minion first so they don't know we're going for this? That'd be kind of nice. Alright, we're going to increase our ult here. I don't need the mana buff. I just don't. I'm a hunter. I don't need that much mana. Alright, this is scary. If I get crowd controlled here, I could be in some danger. I don't know where Kronos went. I've got Ravon right here. I don't know what's going on. That's why Yu Huang retreated so quickly. He was really concerned about the possibility of serious crowd control problems. See, he just went for the crowd control there. If I had been rooted there, that would not have been a problem. I can actually aggress on this because, quite frankly, yeah, you're in some trouble here, guy. Okay, Atlas got it. That's fine. Okay. And he's going to try to crowd control it. Now, I really needed to avoid that because we had New World right there. She could have really slapped me down pretty hard. If I had gotten hit by that, maybe I probably wouldn't have died, depending on... no, she's building stacks. I might have died there. Depending on how many minions she exploded. Could have been a spooky situation. But we dodged it. And that's why I wanted to dodge that there, is very specifically, I was concerned about the amount of damage I was going to be taking from Nuwa if I got hit by that. Alright, we're just going to back up over here. I don't want to be too close to their side. I also want these minions. There we go. Alright. I don't want to aggress on this. I can see her minions. This is better. There we go. I wasn't willing to go in on that until he got away from the minions. Alright, that's some crowd control I can ignore. Again, her minions weren't up. There wasn't a lot of damage going on there. He's trying to do some damage here. I don't care. I just don't. There's not enough enemies here. There's not enough problems going on. We're going to position this way. We're going to get that stun. We're going to go on ahead and land that. We're going to get some kill. That was grammatically terrible. I feel like... I thought there were minions in here, but I guess not. Alright, that's fine. We're going to go to the left. Looks like Yu Huang is in some difficulties. So we're going to go on ahead and ult again just to get here a little earlier. Boom. That's her dead. Boom. That's him dead. Perfect. We're going to increase our ult. We're using it pretty aggressively today. Now, we're ahead. Alright, as a team. Crowd control's a little less scary now. Okay? We know we're ahead. Again, Nuwa, keep in mind levels as well. I'm looking at the enemy's levels to see who's scary. Nuwa is scary. I'm actually going to back... okay, she's not hitting that hard yet. She doesn't have full stacks. She's double stacking, so she's going to be really disgusting later on in the game. I'm going to need to be careful about that. But, right now, I'm... Apparently, I don't need to worry too much, but I don't... Yeah, she hit both minions, right? She's leveling her abilities wrong then if she did only that little damage. At the same level I am? Yeah, she's leveling her abilities wrong. I would have to guess she's probably increasing the crystal, not the ability, not the minions. She only has 2 minions, so she's probably got 2 ranks in the... 1 or 2 ranks in the minions, and a couple of ranks... She's probably maxed the crystal. Unless she increased the... No, she couldn't have increased the fog first. Okay, she just got the minions to, I think, 4. But with that little damage, she's got to be increasing the fog. It doesn't matter in the long run. I'm getting distracted. They're not really... I can see we only have Nuwa right here. I'm trying to keep an eye on where the enemies are right now. Again, crowd control is more about enemy positioning. How many enemies can deal damage to you while you're crowd controlled. I don't care about these minions without her. Yeah, that's a little bit of poke. I don't really care much. We're going to go for this poke here on Kronos. He's going to try to... Okay, that's fine. Now we have 2 over there. I know Nuwa went back. Okay, that pull doesn't matter. I actually like that. Okay, he used that way too late. We're not too concerned here because we just have... Again, we just have the 2 of them here. We just have Sylvanas. Sylvanas is actually playing tank. He's not hitting that hard. I don't care. Kronos, he was low on health. He got scared when I got pulled in, not the other way around, so that was fine. What is... Okay, they're going for the... Alright, they're trying to play area denial, but... Okay, we're going to beads this because I actually want to aggress on this pretty aggressively here. Boom. They might get the Juggernaut, but we're going to take out Sylvanas in the meantime. Yeah. We're going to go on ahead and... Okay, we're done with our stacks. They probably don't need my help right there. Oh, wait, they might. Hold on. Okay, you just use your crowd control. I'm going to aggress on you. Okay, we've got Ravon. Okay, Ravon is a problem. We don't like this. Oh, I'm going to die. No, I'm not. He dove. Oh, she got me with her crystal. That's fair enough. Yeah, that's fine. Alright, so that was the situation. I should have not been that far up with that little health. The crowd control there wasn't a huge problem. Actually, I didn't die due to the crowd control because I was able to dash away from that. Again, how significant crowd control is depends on the crowd control and the situation. Now I'm going for crits, so we're going to grab Atalanta's bow here, and then I want to follow up with Shadow Steel. Do I? Yeah, I want Shadow Steel. They have enough self-healing where that's going to be pretty important for me. And looks like somebody wants to go for the Juggernaut. That's fine. That's fine. And here we go. Clear this out just pronto. Good. Okay. Now I'm heading left because that needs defense. I don't know what you're pinging the speed buff for. It's gone. Mercury's backed up. That's fine. That's fine. They have a Juggernaut over here. We're going to need to deal with this. Now, Izanami doesn't have much in the way of serious crowd control. I'm not worried about it. I'm more concerned about where the enemy is right now. I'm going to actually move to the left here, because if the enemy comes in from anywhere, it's going to be from the right-hand side, so I want to stay away from that. So I want to go over here. Alright. Okay, we're just going to take some free poke. You hate to see it. That's fine, though. No one's been guarding this side. I gotta be careful. Okay, there's someone right there with a speed buff. We're gonna need to keep an eye on that. Who is that? It's Kronos. Alright, he's gonna... He doesn't have much mana, though, so I'm not that concerned about him. I'm still really concerned about Nuwa at this point. Why are these minions behind me? How did they get behind me? Hello? What? How did those minions get behind me? Alright, anyways, what's going... Okay, that's nothing. We have a fight going on in mid for Nuwa. There's a lot of enemies here. I don't want to get crowd controlled here. Crowd control here right now probably means death, because there's enough enemies nearby where if I get crowd controlled, I'm going to either take a lot of damage or I'm in serious danger of dying. We don't have wards up. I really wish we had wards. I only see 3 enemies. I'm very concerned. Nuwa is not one of the enemies I'm seeing. Alright, I had noticed while I was in the air, I was checking to see if anyone was coming in for a sneak attack. Alright, we're okay right now, but I really don't want that stun. Ouch. Good play by Kronos. Using my dodge to deal some damage, that's pretty good. Not today, Zerg, you can only do that once. I'm just trying to heal up off these minions from a safe distance. That was too early. He used that too early. I'm still worried about Nuwa. I have no idea where she is. She just took right lane. I'm sorry, right tower. That's fine. Here she comes. Okay, I see her. I see her. Yu Huang is going to be in some pretty serious trouble. I'm going to be in some pretty serious trouble. Alright. Now, I'm just, again, trying not to get crowd controlled right here. A lot of the enemies are nearby. I get crowd controlled, I might be in some pretty serious doo. I'm going to try to take this. Right now, this is the priority. We're going to just take this really quick. There we go. We're going to dash in here because I have some opportunities here. There we go. Got a nice kill there. I have to be very careful now, though, because we're still, like I said, we had Ravon right behind me. I didn't know he was back there. If he slapped me with some crowd control and knew while I was paying attention, I could have died right there. It's mostly about knowing where the enemy is. Alright, I now just know where Sylvanas is. I could aggress on this, but I don't know where the rest of the enemies are. I'll aggress on this. I'm going to take the gamble. That's fine. Okay, there's Ravon. Okay, we actually have Nuwa over here. I'm going to see if I can do something about this. No. I'm going to actually back. And then I'm going to teleport to the Juggernaut. Because that's going to be a really great, easy way for me to return to the field of battle. Pretty safely, because we have Tyr over there, so I'm not as concerned about it. I know where 3 of the enemies are, the most serious concerns. Take this really quick. Alright, now we're going to try to save Mercury. We're going to go around this back way, though, rather than from behind, because I don't want, again, Ravon. Okay, we got to get out of here. That's, yeah, there's some pretty serious potential damage coming in here. We're going to... Oh, nice job, Atlas. Alright. Okay. Now, see, that was actually pretty significant right there. A great example of crowd control. Ravon did not hesitate. He did not wait. He used that crowd control. He immediately went in for the kill. He didn't need much time at that point either. Frankly, he didn't even need the root. He was the main point of that was just the damage. Mercury, if he'd had the reflexes of a supercomputer, you know, like 0.1 second reflexes, which humans don't have, then he could have dashed away from that still. Obviously, he's human. He doesn't have that kind of reflexes. It was that less than a second that really mattered. And that also, again, even though a lot of the power of crowd control does come down to enemy, you know, awareness of where the enemy is, how many enemies can bring damage in to a fight. Even sometimes just a fraction of a second of crowd control is all someone needs to kill you, depending on their damage output. See, Ravon's crowd control is a lot scarier than, say, in a lot of situations, Sylvanas is, because Sylvanas isn't going to follow up with a lot of damage. Ravon is, because he's clearly building heavy damage here. Look at that build. Holy cow. So he's clearly building a lot of damage, which is understandable. And, okay, we are going to back up here. Not just because there's 3 enemies coming in, but because we have some pretty serious crowd control. Slow is probably the most deceptive of the crowd controls, because you don't think it's going to really matter much, but in a situation like that, that's pretty significant. Now, I use my ult there specifically because I wanted to try to follow up with Atlas here. We're actually going to go on ahead and aggress on this. That might not have been the move. That was not the move. Now, my mistake there was going in. I didn't know where Ravon was. I knew Nuwa and Kronos were over there with Tyr. I had assumed incorrectly that Ravon went over there to help them out. I was wrong. I died for being wrong. I didn't know where Ravon was, thus Ravon killed me. It's a great example of specifically. Now, that wasn't just from crowd control. That's just how Ravon solidified the kill. And a lot of the times, crowd control is just used to kind of guarantee the next follow-up hits. Basically, that is the point of a lot of crowd control. The only exceptions are typically silences and disarms. Disarms are usually used defensively. Silences are usually used to interrupt, so are stuns. But most of the crowd control is used to increase the likelihood that the next ability, the next attack, hits. That's why, when I dash, my next hit, my next shot generally hits pretty much guaranteed because they're stunned, they're not moving, so I get a guaranteed shot in. Now, I could take advantage of that with Hydro Cement. That is, in fact, what Ravon has done. He hits that root, his next auto attack guarantees hits. That's a lot of damage. He hits a slow, his next auto attack is almost guaranteed to hit. It's a slow, so enemies can still get out of there pretty... I shouldn't be here. Again, I was really far up. I knew where two of the enemies were. If I had gotten, crowd controlled there, I'd be dead. That was a potentially fatal crowd control scenario. Now, if I was really worried about crowd control, the enemy team was really slapping down a large amount of crowd control, I could build Magi's Cloak, I could build Spirit Robe if I wanted protections. Unfortunately, for most hunters and most mages, that's going to impact your damage, obviously, which, part of your job is to deal damage, so it's not generally something a lot of people are going to instantly go to. It really depends on your personal playstyle and how comfortable you are dealing less damage in exchange for... Okay, we're going to actually ult out of here, because I'm going to die if I don't. There we go. We got to do some damage there. Alright, they're really aggressing hard. We get crowd controlled, we're probably dead here. Yuhang has his escape up, so that's fine. What are you doing? And here I go. Oh, no, you're going for Atlas. I'm going to die here. I might as well try to take some people with me. Yuhang, save me. Yuhang, save me. Nope, we're fine. We're fine somehow. And that was, an interesting situation where in a 1v1, whether or not the crowd control matters depends on who's doing the more damage. I very clearly was not prepared. What do I want as my final? Oh, of course. We want Silver Branch. Because I'm pretty sure by the time I finish that, yeah, I'll probably be overcapping my attack speed. That's fine. So we'll get Silver Branch for our delicious penetration. And Tyr is probably... we're going to go ahead and clear the speed buff. I'm not sure whether or not I want to go up there with Tyr. I think Tyr's making a mistake being that far up. He backed off just in time, so that's good. I think the Juggernaut's coming up, so we're going to go clear that. Yeah, it's going to be coming up pretty... Okay, we have a Juggernaut to deal with over here. We got to get rid of this first. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and shoot this from a safe distance here. I'm not too concerned about it. They're clearly not teleporting in on this. I don't know where the enemy is, though, so I'm kind of concerned. If a Ravon comes blinking out of nowhere and I don't know where the enemy is, I'm going to be just assuming the worst. If you don't see an enemy on the map, assume they're nearby. Even if they're not, it's a safe assumption. It's going to keep you alive more often. Like right now, I see where... There's Ravon. I was going to say, I don't see Ravon. I'm assuming he's over here. Okay, I dodged that crowd control. This is going to be fairly interesting because I'm pretty sure he's going to outdamage me if I get crowd controlled. I also have to deal with this thing. He's going to come back. He's behind me. I know he's behind me. There he comes. Now, I don't care about his crowd. Again, that was a situation I knew as long as... At that point, I knew I was going to be able to outdamage him. I'd already hit him with some shots. He ran straight at me. He was taking some damage from that. I knew at that point, with round 2, I knew I was going to win in a straight-up confrontation. I didn't care if he'd crowd-controlled me. I dodged his route more for the damage avoidance than anything else. I didn't want to be hit by that. I didn't want to have the concern about Hydro Cement going on there. So I dodged the route more as a matter of form. I didn't need to. I still would have won. I just wouldn't have been able to press as hard afterwards. That really was the only difference there. But I knew, regardless of what he did, I won that fight. Just period. There was no question of that at all in my mind. I'd done enough damage to him in round 1 and healed up enough between rounds that I knew he was dead if he came back at me. And he came back at me and he died. Regardless of what crowd control he had. And that's something you have to just be aware of. It's definitely a very situational thing. How serious crowd control is is situational. 100%. The more enemies there are, the more serious crowd control tends to be. I'm pretty sure I'm being followed. Am I not? No. We're fine. Grab silver. No, we're going to grab Ornate Arrow first. We're going to go on ahead, pop up here. And slap that. Get rid of these. And we have a pretty big fight here. We're going to engage on this because I know only 3 of 5 enemies are here. There's a 4th enemy somewhere kicking around that I don't know where they are. Aggress on this. Alright. Now, that was a gamble. Nuwa could have stunned me there. That would have been pretty serious, I think. Ravon could have turned around and potentially damaged me. He wasn't going to take that risk very likely. I had Atlas right there. So we were decently safe. Did that hit? That did hit. Perfect. We're just going to straight up take this, I think. What hit me? What was that? Oh, Nuwa's ult. Okay. That's fine. And throw this down for some increased attack speed and go to town. Now, right now, Nuwa's ulting. I thought you just ulted. I'm going to aggress on this because her minions are down, and I know this. She gets her minions up, I might be in trouble. I'm in trouble. I'm out. Beads. Now, at that particular point, I really didn't want to get slapped by the Titan. That was going to be spooky. We had Nuwa minions. That was going to be a lot of damage. We had Ravon. That was going to be a lot of damage. We had the Titan. If I hadn't beads and Aegis out of that, I'd be dead. Just straight up. There was no way I was going to survive that otherwise. That's why I used both. So, we're just going to back. I want to finish my Silver Branch Bow. I want to increase my relics. I want to get a chance to... There we go. Alright. We're in pretty good shape. We're in pretty good shape. And... we are... Okay, we're going to have to take care of that little problem. I can move up this far because I have Tyr here. He can probably help me out if I get crowd controlled. Now, I know there's 2 enemies over there. They've lost someone, which is fairly interesting. So, again, I've been focusing a lot on crowd control in this episode and when and where it becomes really dangerous. Again, it has a lot to do with where the enemy is, how many enemies are there. Like I said, crowd control is very situational. You have to, and this is partly a matter of practice, of knowing what you're capable of bringing to bear in a fight compared to what the enemy is. Now, I have the advantage. I've played everyone in this game. I've played them all. At least once. I have a lot of gods at Diamond. I'm very familiar with a lot of these gods. I know what they're capable of bringing to a fight. That helps me a lot in being able to assess in an instant whether or not I can win a fight. If they crowd control me, if they don't crowd control me. I knew Ravon wasn't going to be able to kill me based on his build and based on what I knew from playing him for a long period of time. Now, it comes down to the fact of if you didn't know that, you might be more concerned. You might have backed up, which would have given him time to heal. He's got some pretty serious healing potential there. Maybe you don't know that he has pretty serious healing potential there. In this particular case, I know my allies are here. I can just aggress onto that. Right? That was a situation exactly where, all we needed was the slow. And Ravon died. Right? Because we had 4 out of 5 of us there. No problem. We're just going to aggress onto this Phoenix, and we're just going to take it. Now, this isn't obviously an ideal scenario because they're missing a person, but... I'm getting shot, and I don't want that. There we go. Alright, we're just going to take this Phoenix really quick. I don't want to get pulled in. Even with just 4 of them? Okay, he's out now. We can aggress really hard on that. That's good. I don't want to tank this. I'm going to just ignore Chronos and pray that Atlas can keep him out. Alright, this could be more of a serious problem. Okay, we have a problem. Oh, good thing I killed Ravon. Ravon almost got me killed there. If I didn't have my dash up and Ravon had hit me with something. You know, Ron didn't have a root. If I'd been stunned at that point, I probably would have died there. All right. So, at the end of the day, it comes down to just a lot of the seriousness of crowd control does come down to the situation. You know, that moment where I was under the Titan the first time and the enemy busted out, you know, Nuwa was coming at me, Ravon was coming at me. If I hadn't beads there, I would have died. Right? Because I had two sources of pretty serious damage coming at me, namely Ravon and Nuwa. They were both coming at me. I had the Titan coming after me. That was doom. But again, another great example is when Ravon came for me for round 2 when I was trying to kill the Juggernaut. He was half dead. I was almost full. I knew, because I was building crits, I knew I was going to be able to outdamage him and win that, even if he hit me with crowd control. I knew that was a win. Right? So I didn't care. And then there was that moment early on in the match where Atlas picked up the Izanami and brought her in towards the tower. Izanami knew, by probably experience, that that wasn't a problem. She let it happen. She got a little closer. She tried to kill me. She didn't successfully kill me, but she did do a lot of damage to Atlas. But she let it happen because it was going to put her in a position she wanted to be in, which was aggressive. She had 2 allies there who were going to bring to bear some pretty good damage. She knew that wasn't a problem, right? And that's what it comes down to. This is, again, something you kind of pick up as you play, and that's actually the most interesting part of the meta for a lot of people. Well, I won't say the most interesting, the most difficult part of the meta for a lot of people. When the meta changes, sometimes, if you're newer to the game or you haven't played every god in the game, sometimes you're coming up against gods you don't know what they do when the meta changes, because you've never played against them before. For example, a lot of the gods you're seeing in the current meta, 3 months from now, they might not be popular anymore. Somebody else is going to be popular. So what these newly popular gods are going to bring to the table, you might not be familiar with because you might not have played against them before, especially if you're a newer player. Now, for old diehard vets like me, that's less of a problem. We've either played against them or played them before. We know what they're capable of. But you might not have that. So it might actually be worth, if you're having problems facing off against a particular god, it might be worth just going into a jungle practice and playing around with their abilities and learning what they do. Because that's, knowing what an enemy can do is a large part of deciding, can I just accept this crowd control? Do I need to beads? Should I use my CC immune ult to get out of the situation? Am I in danger? Right? Izanami is a great example. Izanami has a slow. Not necessarily a problem, but like I said before, slows are deceptive. How serious a problem slows are really depends on the context. For Izanami, a slow can be quite powerful, because it allows her to hit more of her shots. It allows her allies to hit more abilities consistently. It allows follow-up abilities to be more likely to hit, but it's also really easy to escape slows, because for, say, Hachiman, for roots and slows, I can dash out of that, I can ult out of that, I can beads. I have 3 different responses to roots and slows specifically. A stun? My only option is beads, unless I can anticipate it in time, in which case I could ult through it, if I can correctly guess when they're going to try to stun me, right? Now, also earlier, Sylvanas pulled me in. I didn't care. At that particular point, Atlas was slapping down, who was that he was slapping down before? I think it was Kronos, yes. Kronos. He was slapping Kronos. Kronos was low on health. Kronos was low on mana. Sylvanas pulls me in. I didn't care. That was what I wanted. Same case with the Atlas. It was just Sylvanas doing what Atlas did earlier in the match. So, essentially, crowd control is about primarily 2 specific questions. That these questions change depending on whether it's a 1v1 or if it's a group scenario. The first question is, do I know where all the enemies are? If the answer is no, assume one is nearby and that this crowd control is going to get you killed. If you know where all the enemies are, or you're pretty sure where all the enemies are, then you have to ask the second question, can I outdamage the enemy? If yes, that crowd control doesn't matter. That's why stuns are scary, because they're preventing you from attacking guaranteed, which is a bit of a problem. But for most other crowd controls, you have to ask, at that point, can I outdamage the enemy? Now, in a group fight, that's a bit more of a different question. In a team fight, the question is, how many enemies can hit me after I get hit by this crowd control? That's going to be a matter of who's specifically looking at you in the team fight, right? I was a hunter in this match. Not a whole lot of enemies were looking at me. This is a much more serious question for supports and solos or frontliners generally. How many enemies are looking at me? Can I tank through this crowd control? And that's just something you have to look around and see how many people are trying to kill you at that particular moment. And again, and this is something that I can't prepare you for, there's always the potential issue of so much going on that you don't see what crowd control you're affected by. I've had that happen before. It didn't happen in this match, but I've had that happen where there's so much going on screen, I don't even know I'm stunned or silenced or rooted until it's too late. That happens. It does. And there's nothing you can do about that. That's just occupational hazard. At the end of the day, a lot of dealing with crowd control is learning what crowd control enemies can bring to a fight and figuring out, can I deal with this? That's a lot of what it comes down to. Okay? It's about assessing, alright, this enemy is coming at me, where's the rest of the team? Are they nearby? Are they far away? Can I safely handle this crowd control? It's a matter of just deciding that. Because if you use your beads for every piece of crowd control you're getting hit by, then you're going to, more often than not, waste your beads on a piece of crowd control that was never going to be a danger to you in the first place. And then when you do need it, when the enemy team is bearing down on you and prepping to just absolutely wipe the floor with you, your beads aren't going to be up to save your life at that point. So it's just a matter of just asking that question. Can I outdamage this? In a 1v1 scenario for hunters, very specifically, yeah, probably. In 1v1s. Most of the time, yeah, you can outdamage that. Ravon was a great example. What if you're not a hunter? What if you're a mage? Well, it depends. Do I have lifesteal? If yes, are there enough people to lifesteal off of? That's a totally different question. That's generally how I approach crowd control. Alright, I'll probably do a follow-up episode on this. To address more specific questions. But this is, I guess I would say, a guideline to how I approach crowd control very specifically. Okay? I hope this helps to some extent, at least to help you decide, what crowd controls are scary and which ones aren't. Again, I'll probably make a follow-up to address more specific questions or more specific scenarios. But with that being said, thank you all very much for joining me. If you liked this, please like and subscribe. If you didn't, please ignore me. And if you have any comments, questions, concerns, ideas, suggestions, or just comments in general, please leave them down below in the comment section. And I appreciate the question. Thank you, Nate. Have a great 24 hours.